One day, this raven is crying so hard that his tears actually fall onto a compassionate monk who is meditating right below him. The raven just spills his heart out, saying people shoo him away, nobody feeds him, and he feels entirely unloved. Now, the monk's heart is filled with compassion, and he tells the raven that, we should really learn to be happy in whatever condition we find ourselves in. But the raven, he just can't hear it. He's not having it. So the monk offers this magical solution. He promises to use a special mantra to transform the raven into absolutely anything he wants to be. The raven immediately chooses a swan. But the monk sets one absolutely crucial condition. Before the spell is cast, the raven has to first go and ask the swan if he is actually happy. And this sets off a complete chain reaction, from the monk to the swan to the parrot and finally the peacock. Let's follow his path.
The raven eagerly flies off and finds this stunning swan gracefully swimming in a pond. He tells the swan, "You are as white as milk. You must be the happiest." Now, the raven is making a massive classic assumption here. He believes that because the swan is universally admired for its pure, flawless appearance, its life just has to be completely devoid of sorrow. He thinks beauty plus universal admiration literally equals absolute joy.
But man, the swan delivers a massive reality check. With a heavy heart, the swan replies, "White is a nothing color." I think the parrot must be the happiest bird. See, the swan is completely blind to its own elegance. Instead of feeling beautiful, the swan feels plain, boring, just colorless. It actually spends its time deeply envying the bright, vibrant colors of the parrot. So boom, the illusion of the swan's perfect life is shattered instantly.
So the raven flies off to find this incredibly happy parrot. And when he finds him, the raven completely repeats his pattern. He says, "You are so colorful and beautiful. You must be the happiest." Notice the escalating assumption here. It's like, okay, if a white swan wasn't happy, surely a bird with vibrant, eye-catching colors must have a profoundly better, more joyful life. The raven is completely convinced he has finally found the absolute pinnacle of happiness.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next major point. The parrot, just like the swan, is completely miserable. He reveals his absolute deepest fear. I am always afraid that someone may hold me and lock me in a cage. Think about that. What looks like a perfect, colorful, vibrant life from the outside is actually a life lived in constant, paralyzing anxiety. The parrot's beauty literally makes it a huge target for captivity. And just like the swan, the parrot tells the raven, hey, actually there is someone else who's the happiest, the peacock, who is way more colorful than me.
Raven seeks out this ultimate idol. He searches for a long time until he finally spots a peacock in a busy zoo, drawing these massive, admiring crowds. Once the hundreds of people leave, the raven approaches. He thinks, thousands of people come to see you. You must be the happiest. So the really crucial point here is that the raven is doubling down on the ultimate grass is greener fallacy. He sees the peacock as the literal center of attention, totally adored by the masses, and assumes this level of fame and admiration is the absolute peak of a happy existence. But the peacock sighs deeply and reveals the very dark side of all that admiration. Because of my beauty, I am trapped in this zoo. When people pluck my colorful feathers to make decorative things, it hurts me a lot. Wow, it's a really heavy realization. The peacock's intensely admired beauty is the exact cause of his literal captivity and his physical pain. The burden of being the most beautiful bird on the planet is unfortunately living a life without freedom, constantly suffering for the enjoyment of others. At this point, the raven is just completely shocked. None of the birds he idealized are actually happy. So he asks the peacock, if you aren't happy, who is? And the peacock flips the script entirely, pointing out a realization that is really the core of this entire explainer. Let's think about the raven's perceived flaw. What made him cry to the monk in the very beginning was the fact that people shoo him away. But the peacock points out that this exact flaw is actually his greatest superpower. Because people don't find the raven beautiful, they never try to catch him. He is never ever kept in a cage. The very thing the raven hated about his life is the exact source of his absolute,
highly desirable freedom. And then the peacock delivers the line that changes absolutely everything. If I were a raven, I could happily roam everywhere, and I would be free. Hearing the most beautiful, admired bird in the world say that he wishes he was a raven, it sparks a profound epiphany. For the very first time, the raven feels true joy about who he is. He flies right back to the monk and says, "I do not want to be anything else. I am fine just as I am." So what does this whole bird story actually mean for us? Well, it perfectly illustrates the psychological trap we all fall into, the vicious cycle of unhappiness. It happens in 4 super clear steps. First, we constantly compare ourselves to others. We're always looking at their white feathers or their colorful lives. Second, because of that comparison, we become incredibly sad. Third, we curse our own situation, focusing only on our flaws. And fourth, as a result of all of that, we completely fail to appreciate what we actually have right in front of us, our own unique freedoms and advantages. It is a continuous, totally self-sabotaging loop of misery. To escape that loop, we need a massive, fundamental shift in our focus, which brings us to the ultimate psychological takeaway here: contentment. Contentment is learning to be happy with what you have, instead of constantly looking at what you don't have. It is the deep, grounding knowledge that no matter who you are, there will always be someone who has more than you and someone who has less than you. I mean, think about it. If your eyes are always on someone else's plate, you're literally never going to be able to enjoy your own meal. Which leaves us with this final, memorable thought. Who is the happiest person in the world? Is it the most beautiful, the most popular, the most admired? Well, based on everything we've unpacked today, the answer is remarkably simple. The happiest person in the world is simply the person who is satisfied with what they already have. I really want to leave you with that provocative thought. Take a look at your own life right now. Are you focusing on the cage, or are you focusing on your freedom? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.